All right, free radicals, welcome back. My name is Dave. This is the Radical Independent. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe. Love to get up to 10,000 subscribers. That would be cool. It's taken a long time to get where I am, and I think I have Scott Ritter to thank for most of it. In any event, President Biden says the U.S. would defend Taiwan if China attacks. Kind of like a breaking news story, but for most of Western media, the foreign policy is all the same, and it doesn't matter who the president is. I'm sorry. I listened to this interview with Michael Tracy and Scott Horton earlier. Really good interview, by the way, kind of lengthy, but essentially they're talking about how, it doesn't really matter who the president is. America first, this movement right now, which sounds great. I agree. We should put America first. I like the idea of America first. But instigating war with Russia and China is not America first. It's not. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and who knows what we're going to do if China decides to invade Taiwan. So Biden does this interview with Scott Pelley, who is a mouthpiece for the Pentagon, and for everything military-industrial complex that you can imagine. And this is what Scott Pelley asks the President of the United States. Would U.S. forces defend Taiwan if China invades? President Biden says, yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack. What qualifies as an unprecedented attack? All right. So Pelley, who is a genius, asked another question. Says, so unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, it's so polite, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. And the president answered yes. Okay, so that was kind of like for clarification. So just to let everybody know at the Pentagon and at the weapons manufacturing facilities around the country, everybody at Raytheon who is watching right now, to be clear, yes, we will send U.S. forces. This is actually declaring that we would do a ground war, some kind of war, air war, ground war. You would be sending airplanes, aircraft, ships, whatever, that are from the United States and United States military. So that's what Biden basically signed off to do right there. And again, this is the fourth time he's done it since he's been president. Now, again, for you America Firsters out there, right? I've noticed that the policy doesn't change a whole lot. They're going to go back 20 years, talk about how George W. Bush said this stuff, and Biden wrote an op-ed basically criticizing him for the use of language, right? That his language was too harsh toward this policy of ambiguity. And here we are 20 years later, and Biden is essentially saying the same thing, and he said it 4 times now. Do you ever think that, at the beginning of the Biden presidency, that the goal has been established that, hey, maybe we should just blow up the damn world? Seriously, like if we could just start a war with Russia, right? We could really escalate that war or make it an endless war, and we'll bankrupt Europe, we'll bankrupt our own country, and pretty much all the countries that side with us, all the NATO alliance countries. And I'm sure the NATO alliance will go along with that with China, right? I'm not as sure, by the way, on that, but maybe we'll see. We'll see how strong that alliance is. So the White House tries to walk this back a little bit. 60 Minutes says, after our interview, a White House official, who was that White House official, huh? Told us that the U.S. policy on Taiwan has not changed. So when you're doing strategic ambiguity, first thing you want to do is make it sound like you want to start a war, because that's strategic ambiguity, right? I mean, the more you research this stuff, the more you're marinating in these things, the more frustrating it is as somebody who is tired of the war machine and the constant, sort of, I don't know, opposite day language. Yeah, we're strategically going to stay out of this, but we're in the meantime we're going to pledge that we'll send troops to Taiwan. We'll send another congressional delegation because that makes China really happy. China's been restrained. Russia's been, I think both Russia and China realize that they could easily start World War III. And they're probably thinking to themselves, do we really want that? Do we want our own people? Do we want to just not exist as a planet anymore? And maybe that's what the United States is thinking, right? And their crazy negotiating is that, they won't blow up the world. Yeah, they won't do it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to start a nuclear war. Why do you want to push this? Why do you want to because, everybody's worried about this guy's a loose cannon. Trump, when he was there, he had, he might have the button in Mar-a-Lago hidden under a box somewhere. We don't know. He might actually have taken the nuclear football with him. And I'm sure the FBI will indict him for that, for taking the nuclear football. And they probably should if he took the football. But I think he's just got a bunch of paperwork, meaningless paperwork about, the secret sauce of how to make a nuclear device or something. Like the Pentagon doesn't already know that, just bizarre. I mean, and while that silly political drama continues to play itself out, and how we realize that our country really isn't a free place to live because the FBI can knock down your door if you don't have the right political views and take your phone. They take my phone, I'm going to be bummed out because I like to stream music from it. So I can get another phone. There aren't any nuclear secrets on my phone, so I don't think I have to worry all that much. But, there are messages where I've called, the president Brandon or something. I'm sure it's on there. So anyway, the policy hasn't changed. Strategic ambiguity. It continues on. They talk about how there was this op-ed where Biden, like 20 years ago, criticized George Bush because Bush hurt the credibility of the U.S. by making comments due to an inattention to detail. Oh, when I think of President Biden these days, I think of attention to detail. Yeah, that's what I think of. Wow. See, and people wonder, okay, Biden can be so controlled. He doesn't care about any of these policies. He doesn't have a moral compass. He, at least, I didn't like Obama, but Obama projected stuff like he had a moral compass. Trump obviously did too. George W. Bush, his main thing was, starting wars and pretending he was a conservative Republican, which he never was. He was a big government explosion Republican. And Trump grew the size of government. People don't want to admit that. And the military budget, which approaching $1 trillion, Trump kept that ball rolling, said he had to rebuild the military because Obama ruined it or something. Maybe that might have been true, but it's more spending, more boats, more planes, more whatever, better quality planes, better, because, we got to fight China. We've got to fight Russia. It would be better to negotiate and use diplomacy, but nobody's even talking about using those things. So it's really fascinating that they allow Biden on 60 Minutes. Biden says the quiet part out loud, and then they walk it back. The Pentagon says nope, or whoever, the White House official. Do they go back later and say, hey, Joe or Mr. President, whatever they call him, ice cream man? Do they walk it back and they say, you probably shouldn't have said that on 60 Minutes. And we didn't agree to that follow-up question that Pelly was asking you. Here's my belief on this, that they knew what 60 Minutes was going. They had the questions in advance. They had all the questions. Come on. This is just ridiculous. people play this kabuki theater thing where it's like, yeah, wow, did you hear the president go off and talk about how he'll stick up for Taiwan and how, we're going to send another congressional delegation over there? It just, our foreign policy is going to bankrupt this country. It is bankrupt. The country is already bankrupt. It's just, how much inflation do we want? That's what this is all about. How many dollars are they going to continue to print? And how much inflation do we want? And there's no way they can't get out of this either. There's no way they can get out of this because they've got to look tough. They got to look tough on China, even though it's a wink, wink. And hey, we have all this oil. We don't actually, but the strategic reserves, I've been hearing that a lot of that has been going to China of all places. So I don't get this. I don't get any of it. And that's why I think it's a bunch of kabuki theater. I do believe, though, that this is kind of counterproductive to a relationship with China. And I think if it continues like this, who knows what's going to happen? And this is why some of us fear nuclear war. Now, there are some people that will say there's no way. These guys, they don't want to blow up the entire planet. They'll stop. And this is what, our guys at the Pentagon are thinking. They won't go this far. Yeah, they might. Somebody might just lose it. You keep pushing Vladimir Putin, he's going to lose it. You keep escalating the war. Now there are, missiles landing on top of Russian infrastructure. Remember, we went from, hey, kind of a hands-off approach. We support Ukraine and all that. And now we're essentially running it. We're running Ukraine. We're running that war. Hence, that's why we had a little victory over there at Kharkiv and everybody used it for photo ops. And now we're going to send billions. And you've got America First, quote unquote, America First people signing on to this. This is not, I'm going to point it out every single day because when I hear America First, I go, yeah, I like that idea. America First kind of means decentralized, kind of means get back to just, taking care of business here and letting people have that ability and not sending money to foreign countries and not fighting foreign wars. That would be America First, wouldn't it? Because none of this has anything to do with most Americans, unless you work for Raytheon, right? And then it has a lot to do with you. So yeah, that's my take on the whole Biden 60 minutes and just this incredible, nonsensical foreign policy, which just gets worse and worse each day, does not put anybody first other than military contractors and military strategists. That's kind of it, folks. That's it. Otherwise, you're going to have a very long, cold winter in many places in Europe and maybe even here in the United States. It's going to take some serious hardship for people to wake up and understand that our government is just a rogue institution at this point. And I don't know if there's a solution to it other than a peaceful divorce from it. That's my point of view on it. All right. Thanks for watching and subscribe and put them on repeat play. Don't forget to check out my interviews with Connor Freeman and with Scott Ritter, who was on fire the last time he was on. And I will see you soon.